Voice of Parliament, from TBC.
Honorable Kovindan Karnakaran, you have 12 minutes.
குழுக்களின் பிரதி தவிசாளர் அவர்களே, அரசியல் பழிவாங்கல் தொடர்பாக விசாரித்து தகவல்களை பெற்றுக்கொள்வதற்காக நியமிக்கப்பட்ட ஜனாதிபதி ஆணைக்குழுவின் அறிக்கை தொடர்பாக விவாதம் இன்று இந்த உயரிய சபையில் நடைபெறுகின்றது. இந்த விவாதத்தில் உரையாற்றுவது எத்தனை முக்கியத்துவம் என்பதை உணர்ந்தே இதில் உரையாற்றுவதற்கு விளைகின்றேன். நமது நாடு ஒரு சுந்தர தீவு. நமது நாடு இந்து சமுத்திரத்தின் கேந்திர முக்கியத்துவம் வாய்ந்த முத்து. நமது நாடு உலகுக்கு ஆன்மீக ஒளியை பரப்பிய 4 மதங்களும் தலைத்தோங்கும் நாடு. நமது நாடு மூப்பு பிணி சாக்காடு கண்டு தனது இல்லற வாழ்வில் அழகிய இளம் மனைவியையும் துறந்து தனக்கு ராஜபோகம் தரக்கூடிய அரச சுகபோகங்கள் அனைத்தையும் துறந்து உலகுக்கு ஞான ஒளியினை தன் பரிநிர்வாணம் மூலம் ஏற்படுத்திய கௌதம புத்தரின் ஆன்மீக ஒளியின் பெருமையினை பின்பற்றும் நாடும் கூட. மூப்பு பிணி சாக்காடு கண்டு முத்தி கண்ட கௌதம புத்தருக்கு எதிரி என்று எவருமில்லை. இருப்பவரும் வாழ்பவரும் மனித குலத்தவரே. இந்த மண்ணில் வாழ்வது இன மத மொழி பேதங்களற்ற ஒரே மனித குலமே என்று போதி மர நிழலிலிருந்து பெற்ற ஞானம் மூலம் அறியத்தந்த கௌதம புத்தரை விசுவாசிக்கும் நாட்டில் அந்த விசுவாசம் உண்மையாக மாறி மாறி நாட்டை ஆட்சி செய்த அரசு தலைவர்களுக்கு உண்மையாக இருக்குமானால் இந்த நாட்டில் அரசியல் பழிவாங்கல் தொடர்பான ஜனாதிபதி ஆணைக்குழு விவாதம் ஒன்று ஏன் தேவை என்பதுதான் இன்று என் முன் எழுந்துள்ள பிரதான கேள்வியாகும். நம் அரசின் தலைவர்கள் தாம் உதட்டளவில் பேசும் பௌத்த தர்மம், தேசாபிமானம் என்பன தாம் உள்ளத்திலிருந்து வெளிவராததன் காரணமாகவே இந்த நாட்டின் உயரிய சபையில் இன்று இந்த விவாதம் நடைபெறுகின்றது. இதையிட்டு கௌதம புத்தரின் போதனைகளை மதிக்கும் ஒரு பாராளுமன்ற உறுப்பினர் என்ற வகையில் வெட்கப்படுவதா, வேதனை அடைவதா, துக்கமடைவதா, துயரமடைவதா, இல்லை கௌதம புத்தனைப் போல் என் மனைவி பிள்ளைகளை விட்டு துறவரம் செல்வதா என்று பல்வேறு சிந்தனைகள் என் மனதை குழப்புகின்றது, வேதனைப்படுத்துகின்றது. குழுக்களின் பிரதி தவிசாளர் அவர்களே, ஆட்சி மாறும்போது அமைச்சர்கள் மாற்றம் பெறுவார்கள், அமைச்சின் செயலாளர்கள் மாற்றம் பெறுவார்கள், அரச திணைக்கள கூட்டுத்தாபன நியதி சபைகள் உட்பட அரச இயந்திரம் முற்றிலும் ஆட்சிக்கு வந்த ஆட்சியாளர்களுக்கு சாதகமாக மாறும். கடந்த அரசாங்க காலத்தில் உயர் பதவி பெற்றவர்கள், ஏன் அகில இலங்கை சேவை ஆளணியினர் கூட, போலீஸ் சேவை, இப்படி பல பதவி நிலையில் இருப்பவர்கள் பந்தாடப்படுவார்கள். இது நமது நாட்டின் ஆட்சி மாற்றங்கள் நடைபெறும் பொழுது காணும் சாதாரண காட்சி. ஒவ்வொரு ஆட்சியாளரும் தமது பக்க நியாயத்தை தாம் சார்ந்த அலுவலர்கள் சார்பில் நியமிக்கப்படுவார்கள். இன்று எமது கௌரவ நீதி அமைச்சர் அலி சப்ரி கூட பிரதம நீதி அரசர் பதவியில் இருந்து ஜிராணி பண்டாரநாயக்கா அவர்கள் நீக்கப்பட்டது அரசியல் அமைப்புக்கு முரணானது அல்ல எனவும், பிரதம நீதியரசர் மொஹான் நீதியரசர் அந்த பதவியிலிருந்து நீக்கப்பட்டது அரசியல் அமைப்புக்கு முரணானது என்று ஒரு சட்டத்திறனிக்கே உரிய வாதத்திறனோடு நியாயப்படுத்துகின்றார். இவை ஆட்சி மாற்றங்கள் நடைபெற்ற போது பெரும்பான்மை இன மக்களிடையே, பௌத்த சிங்கள மக்களிடையே ஏற்படும் அரசியல் பழிவாங்கல்களினதும் அவற்றுக்கான நிவாரணம் வழங்குவது என்பதும் ஒரு பானை சோற்றுக்கு ஒரு சோறு பதம் என்னும் வகையில் உதாரணங்களாகும். தமது இனத்துக்குள்ளே, தமது மதத்துக்குள்ளே மாறி மாறி ஆட்சி அமைக்கும் அரசியல் தலைவர்களால் அரசியல் பழிவாங்கல்கள் ஏற்படுகின்றதென்றால் அர்த்த புஷ்டியுள்ள அதிகார பகிர்வுக்காகவும் புறக்கணிப்புக்கு எதிராகவும் சமத்துவத்துக்காகவும் போராடும் எமது மக்கள் எத்துணை பழிவாங்கப்பட்டிருப்பார்கள். இத்தகைய பழிவாங்கல்களுக்காக நியாயம் கேட்க முடியாத நாதியற்ற சமுதாயமாக எமது மக்கள் இவ்வளவு காலம் வாழ்ந்திருப்பார்கள். சுதந்திர போராட்ட காலத்திலிருந்து தொடர்ச்சியாக தேசியத்திற்கு உடைத்த எம் இன தலைவர்கள் கூட இன்று உரிய தேசிய மரியாதையின்றி புறக்கணிக்கப்படுகின்றார்கள். ஆனால் எம் இனத்தின் பெயரில் அரசுக்கு ஆதரவு வழங்கும் ஒரு சில அரசியல்வாதிகளுக்கு, எலும்பு துண்டுகளுக்கும் குறைவான மரியாதையை மக்கள் வழங்குகின்றார்கள் என்பதை நாம் ஏற்றுக்கொள்ளத்தான் வேண்டும். ஆட்சியாளர்களுக்கு சார்பாக அரசு சட்டங்கள் வளைந்து கொடுக்கின்றன. கிருஷாந்தி குமாரசாமி கொலை வழக்கில் நீதிமன்றத்தின் மூலம் சந்தேகத்திற்கு இடமின்றி குற்றம் நிரூபிக்கப்பட்டு மரண தண்டனை வழங்கப்பட்ட மரண தண்டனை கைதி ஒரு பெரும்பான்மையினை இராணுவ சிப்பாய் என்பதனால் அவர் அரசின் பொது மன்னிப்புக்கு ஆளாகின்றார். இப்படி எத்தனையோ இராணுவத்தினர் நீதிமன்றங்கள் வழங்கிய தண்டனை தீர்ப்பிலிருந்து பொது மன்னிப்பு பெற்றுள்ளனர். ஆனால் தாயை இழந்து தனியாக உறவினர் தயவில் வாழும் தன் மகளின் வாழ்வை காப்பாற்றுவதற்காக ஆனந்த சுதாகரனுக்கு பொது மன்னிப்பு அழியுங்கள் என்று முழந்தாளில் நிற்காத குறையாக அகிலமே வேண்டியும் கூட ஆட்சியாளரின் அகிம்சை கண்கள் திறக்கவில்லை. கௌரவ குழுக்களின் பிரதித்தவிசாளர் அவர்களே, தென்னாப்பிரிக்காவின் தேச பிதாவான நெல்சன் மண்டேலா அவர்களை ஏகாதிபத்திய அரசு 26 வருடங்கள் சிறையில் வைத்து 26வது வருடத்தில் விடுதலை செய்தது. இங்கு 26 வருடங்களுக்கு மேலாக விசாரணைகளின்றி, வழக்கு தாக்கலின்றி, வெறும் சந்தேகத்தின் அடிப்படையில் எத்தனை அரசியல் கைதிகள் சிறையில் வாடுகின்றார்கள். தமது வாழ்வின் நிலைமையை தொலைத்துள்ளார்கள். இவர்கள் செய்த குற்றம் என்ன? தன் இனத்தை, தன் மொழியை, தன் மண்ணை நேசித்ததா? இது போன்ற ஒரு அரசியல் பழிவாங்கல் உலகில் இராணுவ ஆட்சி நடக்கும் நாட்டில் கூட நடப்பதாக அண்மைய உலக வரலாறுகள் எதுவும் பதிவு செய்யப்படவில்லை. ஆனால் உலகுக்கு ஜனநாயகத்தை போதித்த பாராளுமன்ற சம்பிரதாயங்களின் தாய் என போற்றப்படும் பிரித்தானியாவுக்கு முன்னரேயே சர்வசன வாக்குரிமையை வழங்கியதாக பெருமை கொண்ட ஆசிய பிராந்தியத்தில் பாராளுமன்ற பிரதிநிதித்துவ ஜனநாயகத்தை பேணும் ஒரு முக்கிய நாடான எமது நாட்டின் இத்தகைய பழிவாங்கல்கள் என்று ஓயும்? இவை ஓயுமா? அல்லது அடுத்த தலைமுறைக்கும் இது நகர்த்தப்படுமா? அரச உயர் பதவி நியமனங்களில் தமிழர்கள் முற்றாக புறக்கணிக்கப்படுகின்றார்கள். அண்மைய இலங்கை நிர்வாக சபை பரீட்சையின் முடிவு இதற்கு சான்றாகும். மட்டுப்படுத்தப்பட்ட போட்டி பரீட்சையிலே கடந்த முறை 69 பெயர்கள் நேர்முக பரீட்சைக்கு அழைக்கப்பட்டிருந்தும் அந்த 69 பெயர்களில் ஒரு பரீட்சார்த்தி கூட தமிழ் பேசும் இனத்தை சார்ந்தவர் இல்லை என்பதே ஒரு பெரிய உதாரணமாகும், ஒரு பெரிய பழிவாங்கலாகும். அந்த பரீட்சை முடிவுகளின்படி அனைவருமே பெரும்பான்மை இனத்தை சேர்ந்தவளா என்பதை கேட்க விரும்புகின்றேன். இது ஒரு திட்டமிட்ட பழிவாங்கலாகும். பதவி நியமனங்கள் வழங்கப்படும் போது தகுதிக்கும் திறமைக்கும் முன்னுரிமை அளியுங்கள், உறவுக்கும் இனத்துக்கும் முன்னுரிமை அளிக்காதீர்கள். ஒரு காலத்தில் புகழ் பூத்த வெளிநாட்டு சேவையாக இருந்த இலங்கை வெளிநாட்டு சேவை இன்று அரசியல் நியமனங்களால் அலங்கரிக்கப்பட்டு நிற்கின்றது என்பதற்கு அண்மைய ஜெனிவா மகாநாடு ஒரு முன்னுதாரணமாகும். எமது நாடு மீண்டும் பண்டைய சிறப்புகளை, பண்டைய பெருமையினை பெற வேண்டுமாக இருந்தால் ஆட்சியாளர்கள் கடந்த கால வரலாற்றில் இருந்து கற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டியவைகள் அநேகம் உண்டு. தவறுகளும் குறைபாடுகளும் கொண்டதுதான் மனித வாழ்க்கை. தவறுகள் இனங்காணப்பட்டு, குறைகள் களையப்பட்டு வாழ்க்கையை சீராக்க வேண்டியது வாழ்வியலின் தத்துவம். இது தனி மனித வாழ்வைக்கு மாத்திரமல்ல, நாட்டின் ஆட்சியாளர்களுக்கும் பொருந்தும். ஆட்சியாளர்களே, எமது நாட்டின் கடந்த கால வரலாற்றினை நன்றி சீர்தூக்கி படியுங்கள். தவறுகள் எங்கு, எவ்வாறு, எவரால் உருவாக்கப்பட்டது என்பதை கண்டுபிடியுங்கள். அதற்கான தீர்வினை இன மத மொழி வேறுபாடின்றி நடுநிலையுடன் வழங்குவதற்கு முனையுங்கள். வரலாற்றில் இருந்து பாடம் கற்றுக்கொள்ளாத எவரும் மக்கள் போற்றும் அரசு தலைவராக மிளிர முடியாது. இதனை உணர்ந்து உங்கள் தீர்மானங்களை எடுங்கள். அவ்வாறு நீங்கள் தீர்மானம் மேற்கொள்வீர்களாக இருந்தால் அரசியல் பழிவாங்கல் என்ற சொல் இலங்கை அரசியல் வரலாற்றில் அகராதியில் இருந்து பூரணமாக நீக்கப்பட்டு வரும். இன்று தமிழ் பேசும் மக்கள் இந்த நாட்டிலே எப்படி வாழ்ந்து கொண்டிருப்பார்கள் என்பதை ஒரு அரசியல் பழிவாங்கலுக்கு உதாரணமாகும். இன்று கல்முனை உப பிரதேச செயலகத்தை கல்முனை வடக்கு பிரதேச செயலகத்தை எடுத்துக்கொள்ளுங்கள். கடந்த 28 ஆண்டுகளாக அந்த பிரதேச செயலகம் தானாக இயங்கி வந்தது. 40,000 தமிழர்கள் கிட்டத்தட்ட அந்த பிரதேசத்திலே வாழ்கின்றார்கள். 29 கிராம சேவகர் பிரிவுகளை கொண்டு இயங்கும் அந்த பிரதேச செயலகம் இன்று தரம் இறக்கப்பட்டுள்ளதாக அறிகின்றோம். ஏனது கடந்த கால ஆட்சியிலே இது தரம் உயர்த்தப்பட்டிருக்க வேண்டும், அது தவிர்க்கப்பட்டிருக்கின்றது. கல்முனை நகரை அரசியல் செய்யும் ஒரு அரசியல்வாதி, குறிப்பாக பெயர் குறிப்பிட்டு சொல்ல போனால் ஹரீஸ் பாராளுமன்ற உறுப்பினரின் நடவடிக்கை தான் இது. ஒரு அலுவலகம் தரம் உயர்த்தப்பட வேண்டுமே தவிர தரம் குறைக்கப்படக்கூடாது. இலங்கையின் வரலாற்றிலே முதல் தடவையாக கல்முனை வடக்கு பிரதேச செயலகம் தரமிறக்கப்பட்டு உள்ளது. ஹரீஸ் பாராளுமன்ற உறுப்பினர் அவர்கள் கடந்த காலத்திலே 20வது திருத்தச் சட்டத்திற்கு வாக்களித்து தான் சார்ந்த சமூகத்தின் தமிழகத்தின் இறந்த மரணமானவரின் உடல்கள் எரிக்கப்பட்டு கொண்டிருக்கும் போதே 20வது திருத்த சட்டத்திற்கு இந்த அரசாங்கத்திற்கு ஆதரவாக வாக்களித்து தன்னுடைய சமூகத்துக்கு துரோகம் செய்தவர் இன்னொரு சமூகத்திற்கு உதவி செய்வார் என்பதை நாங்கள் எதிர்பார்க்கவில்லை. இருந்தாலும் நாங்கள் கிழக்கு மாகாணத்திலே குறிப்பாக தமிழ் முஸ்லீம்கள் இன ஒற்றுமையுடன் எதிர்காலத்தில் வாழ வேண்டும் என்று ஆசைப்படுகின்றோம். மட்டக்களப்பு மாவட்டத்தை பொறுத்த மட்டில் தமிழ் முஸ்லீம்கள் ஒற்றுமையாக வாழ வேண்டும் என்று எங்களுடன் கூட பேசிக்கொண்டிருக்கும் நேரத்திலே இந்த பெரும்பான்மை ஆட்சியாளர்களின் பிரித்தாளும் தந்திரத்தின் ஊடாக இந்த வேலையை செய்கின்றார்கள். எனக்கு ஒரு சந்தேகம் இருக்கின்றது. 20வது திருத்த சட்டத்திற்கு வாக்களித்த இவர்கள் இந்த பிரதேச செயலகத்தை தரம் இறக்குவதன் மூலம் எதிர்வரும் காலங்களிலே இங்கு கொண்டு வரப்பட இருக்கின்ற ஃபோர்ட் சிட்டி சம்பந்தமான பிரேரணைக்காக இவர்களின் ஆதரவை வேண்டுவதற்காக இந்த அரசாங்கம் இப்படியான வேலைகளை செய்கின்றதா என்பதை நினைத்து பார்க்க வேண்டியதாக இருக்கின்றது. அதற்கு மேலாக வடகிழக்கிலே தமிழ் மக்கள் தொல்பொருள் என்ற ரீதியிலே மிகவும் பாதிக்கப்பட்டு கொண்டு பழிவாங்கப்பட்டு கொண்டு இருக்கின்றார்கள். அம்பாறை பொத்துவிலில் இருந்து இன்று பருத்தித்துறை வரைக்கும் தொல்பொருள் என்ற ரீதியிலே பல ஏக்கர் காணிகள் அபகரிக்க கொண்டு வருகின்றன. கௌதம புத்தரின் இருப்பதாக அடையாளம் காட்டி அந்த இடங்களை நீங்கள் அபகரிக்கின்றீர்கள். ஏன் கடந்த காலங்களிலே இந்து மன்னர்கள் ஆண்ட புலனறுவை அஞ்சாபுரம் போன்ற இடங்களில் கூட இந்து சின்னங்கள் இன்றும் இருக்கின்றது. அங்கு 100 ஏக்கர் காணியை நீங்கள் கொடுத்து இந்து மத ஸ்தாபனம் அமைப்பதற்கு உங்களால் இடம் தர முடியுமா என்று கேட்டு விடைபெறுகின்றேன். நன்றி.
Honorable C.V. Vigneswaran, you have 7 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity.
සියලුම දේශපාලනඥයන්ගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා අනාගතයේවත් මෙවැනි පහත් දේශපාලන ක්‍රියාකාරකම් කරන්න එපා කියලා. පුද්ගලික වාසි තකා මේ රටේ සාරධර්ම විනාශ කරන්න එපා කියලා අපි සියලු දෙනාගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. ගරු කතානායකතුමනි, නිර්වද්‍යතාව සඳහා මගේ සම්පූර්ණ කතාව හැන්සට් ගත කරන ලෙස මම ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
Thank you. Honorable C.V. Vigneswaran, you have 7 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. From the time politics was allowed to enter the hallowed precincts of our public service, vindictiveness and favoritism by one set of politicians in power has been alleged by the opposition. When the opposition politicians came to power, subsequently, victimization of their supporters by the previous regime had been alleged. The opposition then in power thereafter went on to favor those in the public service who supported them. We have forgotten that this pernicious practice is the outcome of the politicization of our public service. Neither Parliament nor politicians should interfere with the public service. That would violate the principle of separation of powers enshrined in Article 4 of the Constitution. The public service is part of the executive, no doubt. However, even the President and the Cabinet have only limited power in respect to the public service. The Constitution contains 3 chapters dealing with the executive, 7, 8, 9. Chapter 9 deals with the public service. The only power that the Cabinet has over the public service is at a policy level. Article 55(4) of the Constitution states as follows: subject to the provisions of the Constitution, the Cabinet of Ministers shall provide for and determine all matters of policy relating to public officers. Unquote. The Constitution in its wisdom does not permit even the President nor the Cabinet of Ministers to interfere with the workings of the public service. Cabinet can only give policy guidance. In other words, Cabinet cannot interfere with the decision of whom to prosecute. That decision is for the Attorney General and the Attorney General alone. It is probably for this reason that His Excellency the President has not sought to include the Attorney General within the ambit of the Commission of Inquiry, despite naming several other institutions. However, it is shocking to note that the Commission has decided to embark upon its own voyage and decided to persecute even the prosecutors. Yesterday, somebody was talking about one of the Attorney General's Department lawyers, State Counsel. The Cabinet is responsible to Parliament in the discharge of the functions. If Cabinet itself can only give policy decision in the policy direction to the public service, then what can Parliament do in its supervisory capacity? It can only question Cabinet on its policy directives. Parliament can also pass legislation ensuring that specific safeguards are built into the system to prevent political victimization. But it certainly cannot be involved in giving any directions to the public service at the individual level. That would be grave transgression of the Constitution and violative of Articles 4 and 55. Honorable Jayanta Veerasinghe, Attorney at Law, who had appeared before me in several cases when I was High Court Judge Colombo, yesterday gave a detailed description of what happened to his clients, including Mr. Basil Rajapaksa during the Yahapalana government. It was very dramatic and descriptive, no doubt. But if individuals or their attorneys at law felt that evidence had been manufactured against them or that they have been politically victimized, they have numerous avenues open to them to vindicate their rights through the judiciary. First, a person can raise the objections in the criminal case itself. They can invoke the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in terms of Article 126 of the Constitution for the violation of their fundamental rights. They can invoke the writ jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal in terms of Article 140. They can institute proceedings for malicious prosecution and seek damages. The powers of the judiciary are so wide that injustice can be prevented and damages avoided. The executive and the legislature simply have no role to play at the individual level. Individuals must seek the assistance of the judiciary. The idea that political victimization by a previous regime should be looked into by special commissions and committees is anathema to the rule of law. It has no place in the context of Article 126 of the Constitution. Article 126(1) of the Constitution states as follows: the Supreme Court shall have sole and exclusive jurisdiction to hear and determine any question relating to the infringement or imminent infringement by executive of administrative action of any fundamental right or language right declared and recognized by Chapter 3 or 4. Therefore, it is my view that the entire idea of the appointment of a Presidential Commission of Inquiry to inquire into and obtain information pertaining to the alleged incidents of political victimization of public officers, employees of state corporations, members of the armed forces and the
Honourable
police
Member, you have 2 more minutes.
was misplaced. The public service must be allowed to do its duty objectively, not to please those in power politically. If the appointment of the said commission was a folly, the commission itself, called by Honourable Sarath Fonseca yesterday as Pisupusa Commission, has proceeded to, with visible glee, into territories that angels fear to tread. It is clear that there are several cases that are presently pending in relation to the matters inquired into by the Commission. The Commission is not a body recognized by Article 105 of the Constitution as an institution for administration of justice. It simply has no business having anything to do with matters pertaining to the judiciary. All the actions by the Commission in respect of pending cases would constitute a clear interference with the judiciary and as such would be in violation of Article 111C, which states that any interference
Honourable Member, please wind up.
would be an offence recognized in the Constitution itself. If this debate seeks in any manner to implement the so-called recommendation of this Commission, this House too would be violating Article 111C. That is probably why, despite the ill-advised wording of the motion, no directions are being sought from the House. Having said this, I need to make my observations from a different standpoint. Though the recent events and activities seem to point to the death knell to democracy, rule of law, and the independence of the public service and judiciary from the point of view of Tamils who have suffered at the hands of the successive Sri Lankan governments by being denied justice so far.
Member, please wind up.
Just half a minute. This action of appointing a commission and accepting a report of this nature by this government is welcome to us Tamils in a perverse way. It is welcome because it highlights exactly what was recently said in Geneva. It gives a wonderful example of how the government in Sri Lanka perverts the course of justice It proves what is being said by Tamils. The government of Sri Lanka cannot be trusted to allow justice to take its own course. This is why Tamils human rights organization and the UN are clamoring for the appointment of international tribunals. If those accused of corruption will not be allowed to face trial, what hope is there to getting war criminals tried? Those of you in the government that blame the diaspora, the NGOs and the West for allegedly persecuting Sri Lanka should look hard at what you are doing right now. It is you who is letting the country down by such dubious methods. And I conclude, none of us have the right to say that we alone love this country. If the majority in this country had acted humanely, prudently and with foresight, this country would not be in the dire straits it is today. Our youth would not have taken up arms. I hope we change our ways and tread towards sanity, unity and prosperity. I thank you, sir.
ගරු රවුප් හකිම් මැතිතුමා ඔබතුමාට මිනිත්තු 9ක කාලයක් තියෙනවා.
ගරු මුලාසනරුඩ මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි මෙම විවාදයට ප්‍රවේශයක් හැටියට මම මුලින්ම උපුටා දැකීමට ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා. මාර්තු මාසේ 7 වෙනිදා Sunday Times පත්තරේ ප්‍රවෘත්තියක්. Senior lawyers express concern over Commission of Inquiry report on political victimization. 11 President's Council and former presidents of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka have expressed serious concern that the contents of the report of the Commission of Inquiry into political victimization will undermine the rule of law in this country, impair independence of the judiciary, and erode impartial and efficient functioning of the Attorney General's Department. මේක විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ රටේ ප්‍රවීණතම ජනාධිපති නීතිඥවරු, ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨතම නීතිඥවරු, නීතිඥ සංගමේ සභාපතිවරු 11 දෙනකින් සමන්විත කණ්ඩායමක් යවපු ලිපියක ප්‍රවෘත්තියක් තමයි මේක. මේකේ ඉන්නවා Kanagishwaran President's Council, Mikram Mohammed President's Council, Mr. Faiz Mustafa President's Council, Mr. Upali Gunaratna, Jeffrey Alagaratna, Mr. Romesh De Silva, Dr. Vijayadas Rajapaksa, Mr. U.R. De Silva, Mr. Nihal Jayamana, Mr. Upul Jayasuriya, and Mr. Saliya Piris. මේ අයවලුන් අතරේ ඉන්නවා රජයේ පැත්තට පක්ෂව නඩු කියන ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨතම නීතිඥවරු කීප දෙනෙකුත්. ඒ අයම කියනවා මේ ක්‍රියාදාමය හරහා මේ ජනාධිපති විමර්ශන කොමිසමේ මේ ක්‍රියාදාමය හරහා මේ රටේ යුක්තිය පසඳලීමේ ක්‍රියාදාමයට විශාල හානියක් සිදු වෙනවා. වලපල්ලට යන තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙනවායි කියලා අනතුරු අඟවනවා. ඒ විතරක් නෙවෙයි, ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා මේ රටේ නීති ආධිපත්‍යයට විශාල පහරක් හැටියට අය මේ මෙන්න දකින්නයි කියන එක තව පැහැදිලිව කියා සිටිනවා. ඉතින් මේ කාරණාව උඩ තමයි මගේ මේ ප්‍රවේශය මම මුලින්ම ගන්නෙ. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ ක්‍රියාදාමයත් එක්ක අපි කවුරුත් මතක තියාගත්තු දේ තමයි අපි දැක්කා අද දවස පුරා ඊයේත් මම දැක්කා ආණ්ඩු පක්ෂයේ විවිධ අය මේ කොමිසම් සභා වාර්තාවේ අන්තර්ගත නොයෙකුත් නඩු පිළිබඳව තමන්ගේ අඳෝනාව අපිට අහන්න ලැබුණා. ඒ අඳෝනාව තුල අපි දකිනවා තමන් හිරගතව හිරබාරව සිටිද්දී තමන්ට විඳින්න සිදුවුණු ඒ දුක පිළිබඳව අපිත් කනගාටු වෙනවා. නමුත් ඒ අතරතුරදී එක කාරණාවක් මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. මේ වගේ ක්‍රියාදාමයක් කරහායව නිවැරදි කරන්න යන්න එපා. ඒකට වෙනත් ක්‍රියාමාර්ග තිබෙනවා. උසාවියේ තියෙන උසාවිය ඉදිරියේ කියලා ඒ කරුණු ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. මොකද මේ රටේ නීති ආධිපත්‍යයට විශාල පහරක් හැටියට ඔබතුමන්ලම නියෝජනය කරන ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨතම නීතිඥවරු කීප දෙනෙක් කියලා තියෙන මේ කතා පිළිබඳව කරුණා කරලා මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. මොකද මට කීප නමක් කියලා කියවනවා. මොකද හාමුදුරුවෝ කීප දෙනෙකුත් මේ පිළිබඳව කරුණු දක්වලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ පිළිබඳව මම කියන්නම්. මේ පිළිබඳව මොකද මුලින්ම මේ කොමිෂන් සභාව පිළිබඳ නීතිය අපි පැනෙව්වේ අපිට නිදහස ලැබිලා ඩොමිනියන් තත්වයෙන් නිදහස ලබා දීමෙන් අනතුරුව 1948 දී පිහිටවපු මේ කොමිෂන් සභාව 1900 නොවැම්බර් මාසේ 8 වෙනිදා සිට මේක ක්‍රියාවට නැංගුවා. ඉතින් එදා පටන් සිදුවෙලා එන මේ ක්‍රියාදාමයේදී අපි දෙපැත්තෙන්ම අපි දකිනවා මාරුවෙන් මාරුවට ආණ්ඩුපත් වුණාම දේශපාලන පරිගැනීමට ලක්ුණායි කියලා පාක්ෂිකයන් රාශියක් විශාල සංඛ්‍යාවක් අදත් අපි රැස්වීමකට ගියාම අපි ෆයිල් උස්සන් එන්නේ දේශපාලන පරිගැනීමට ලක් වූ අයගේ ෆයිල් හැමදාම තිබුණා හැම දෙපැත්තටම මේක සිදු වෙනවා. නමුත් මේ අතරතුරදී අපි මතක තියාගත්තු තව දෙයක් තියෙනවා මුලාසන මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි. දැන් දේශපාලනය නොකලත් Tamanගේ ඕමනාව අනුව මේ ක්‍රියාදාමයට අනුගත නොවන රජයේ සේවකයන් හංවඩු ගැසෙන්නෙත් විරුද්ධ පාක්ෂිකයන් හැටියටයි. එහෙම හංවඩු ගහලා ඒකෙන් මේ වින්දිතව හැටියට පත්වන විශාල සංඛ්‍යාවක් මේ රටේ ඉන්නවා. ඒ අය පිළිබඳ කතා කරන්න කවුරුත් නැහැ. ඒ අය පිළිබඳව ඒ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ආందోලනාව පිළිබඳව කවුරුත් ගණන් ගන්නෙත් නැහැ. මේ පිළිබඳවත් අපි මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. කිසිදු දේශපාලනයට ගැති නොවි ස්වාධීනව තමන්ගේ රාජකාරිය කරන්න උත්සාහ කරන අය පිළිබඳව අපි කවුරුත් කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. තමන්ගේ මිනිසුන් පමණක් තෝරා සැලකීම නිසා අසාධාරණයට ලක්වන්නේ ජනතාවමයි කියන එකත් අපි මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. දැන් දේශපාලනීකරණයට ලක්වන රාජ්‍ය ආයතන වලින් ඉටුවන අපක්ෂපාතී මහජන සේවාව අඩාලවීම තුළ මේ මුළු මහජනයටම විශාල ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙන එකත් මම මතක් කර සිටිය යුතුයි මුලාසනනුඩ මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි. අපි දැන් මේ ක්‍රියාදාමයේ පිළිබඳ මේත් එක්කම මම දකින දෙයක් තමයි දැන් මේ විශේෂ ජනාධිපති කොමිෂන් සභාව පත් කිරීමට ඇති වෙලා තියෙන උමනාව. ඒක කරලා තියෙන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ කොමිෂන් සභාවේ මේ කොමසාරිස්වරු මේ කොමසාරිස්වරුන්ගේ අතීතයේ පිළිබඳව නොයෙකුත් කතා මෙතන කියවුණා. ඒක නම් මම කියන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක මට අවශ්‍යත් නැහැ. මොකද මම කවදාවත් මේ රජයේ පැත්තේ ඉන්න ඇමතිවරුන්ගේ ක්‍රියාදාම පිළිබඳව හෝ වෙනත් කිසි දෙයක් පිළිබඳව මම විවේචන කරලත් නැහැ. විවේචන කරන්න යන්නෙත් නැහැ. මට ඕමනාවකුත් නැහැ. නමුත් මේ රටේ ආයතනවල ස්වාධීනත්වයට විශාල පහරක් ඇතිවීම පිළිබඳව මේ අපේ නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ නිලධාරීන්ට ඇතිවලා තියෙන අපහාසත් ප්‍රශ්න පිළිබඳව අපි මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. එතන නිලධාරී කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා එතුමා මේ ඉන්ටෙන්සිව් කෙයාර් යුනිට් එකේ එතුමා දැන් මරණයට පත්වන මුඛයේ ඉන්න කෙනෙක් හැටියට දැන් පත් වෙලා ඉන්නවා මේ ක්‍රියාදාමයෙන් පස්සේ. ඉතින් මේව ගැනත් අපි හිතා බලන්න ඕනේ. ඔබතුමන්ලටත් යම් ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙලා ඇති. නමුත් නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ නිලධාරීන් ඇතිවලා තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න දැන් බලන්න මෙතන ලියුම් කීපයක් ඉදිරිපත් වුණා. දැන් නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ මේ කොමිෂන් පත් කළාම කොමිෂන් ඉදිරියේ කියලා ගිහිල්ලා නීතිපතිතුමාම මෙතන කරුණු සැලකලා හිටියා මේක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අපේ නිලධාරීන්ව මේ දඩයම් කරන ව්‍යාපාරයක් හැටියට පත් වෙනවා කියන එක පෙන්눔 කරලා දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒ අතරතුරදී මේ නඩු අහන මිනිස්ත්‍රකාරතුමන්ලට මේක අභියෝගයක් වෙලා තිබෙනවා. මේ කොහෙවත් නැති මේ පුදුමාකාර විදිහට මේ රටේ නීති ආධිපත්‍යයට විශාල පහරක් මේ හරහා සිදුවෙනවා කියන එක මතක තියාගෙන මේ ගැන කටයුතු කරන්නයි කියලා අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ. ඒ විශේෂ නෙමෙයි මේ විශේෂ ජනාධිපති කොමිෂන් සභාව හරහා සමායන්
තා මිනිත්තු දෙකක් කාලයක් තියෙනවා ඔබතුමා.
විශේෂ කොමිෂන් සභා පත් කිරීමේ උවමනාව ඇත්තටම කාටත් පේනවා. විශේෂ කොමිෂන් සභා නීතිය 1978 ජයාර්ජයවුදන මැතිතුමන් ඇති කරලා ඒකෙන් ශ්‍රීමාව බණ්ඩාරනායක මැතිනිය ෆීලිස් ඩෑස් බණ්ඩාරනායක ෆෞසි මැතිතුමා ඒ වගේම නිහාල් ජයවික්‍රම මැතිතුමන් ඒ අයගේ ප්‍රජායතිය අහෝසි කළා. ඊයින් පසුව කවදාකවත් මේක සාර්ථක වුණේ නැහැ. ඊයේ මම බලාගෙන හිටියා අපේ සුමන්ද්‍රන් මන්ත්‍රීතුමා මේ පිළිබඳව නීත්‍යානුකූලව තියෙන කරුණු දක්වද්දී අපේ මහින්දානන්ද මහත්තයතුමා ඉඳගෙන ඇයි බයද කියලා අහනවා. එතනින් අපිට පේනවා මේකෙන් නිකන් බියවද්දනට වගේ මේක ගෙනත් තියනවාද කියලාත් අපි දකිනවා. බියවද්දන නම් අපි ඒවට බය වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඒවට සැලෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඕන්නම් කරලා බලන්න. කරලා මේ ජයාරුන් නැහැ කරලා ඒකෙන් වෙච්ච දේ කවුරුත් දන්නවා. අන්තිමට රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාට සමාව ඉල්ලන්න සිදු වුණා මේ රටේ ජනතාවගෙන්. එතරම් දුරට මෙවැනි පහත් නින්දිත ක්‍රියාවක් කරන්නට අවශ්‍යත් නැහැ. කරන්න ගියොත් ඒකට අපි බයක් නැහැ. කියන අපි කියා සිටිය යුතුයි. පුළුවන් නම් කරලා බලන්න. කරලා බැලුවා නම් ඒක තේරෙයි. ජයාර්ජයවුන් නැහැ එදා කරලා. ඉන් පස්සේ සිදු වුණේ මොකද්ද? 83 ඒ කෝලාහලෙන් පස්සේ තමන්ගේ අතින් සිදුවුණු වරදට අන්තිමට ජනතා විමුක්ති පෙරමුණේ ඔළුවේ ගහන්න ගියා ඒ චෝදනාව. ඊට පස්සේ ජනතා විමුක්ති පෙරමුණ දෙවන කැරල්ල ඇත උනේ ඊන් පස්සේ තමයි. අපි මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේ මේ වගේ දේශපාලන පරිගැනීම් පිළිබඳව මාරුවෙන් මාරුවට අපි රජයක් මාරු වුණාම මේ කරන මේ ප්‍රශ්න උඩ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයාගේ තාත්තා පිළිබඳව කතා කිරීමට පෙර ඊන් පසුවේ නෑ කවුද කිව්වේ එතුමාගේ නෑ එහෙම කියන්න යන්න එපා ප්‍රේමදාස ජනාධිපතිතුමාන් එක කරා කියලා කියන්න අවශ්‍ය නෑ නමුත් නෑ ඔබතුමා ඒක ඔබතුමාගේ අදහසක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් ඔබතුමන්ලාට අවශ්‍ය වෙලා තියෙනවා විපක්ෂ නායකයාට කොහොම හරි මේක ගැට ගහලා දාන්න. එහෙම යන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ.
අවසන් කරන්න ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා කාලය අවසන් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
හරි. දැන් අපි මූලාසනවල මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි අපි මේ කතාව මේ මම සමාප්ත කිරීම සඳහා මේ මම කියා සිටින්නේ කරුණා කරලා මෙවැනි ක්‍රියාදාමය හරහා මේ රටේ වැදගත් ආයතන වලට වෙන හානිය පිළිබඳ සිතා බලා මෙවැනි ක්‍රියාදාමයකට නොගිහින් කෙලින්ම ගිහිලා උසාවිය ගිහිලා කරුණ කියලා තමන්ගේ දැනටම වෙලා තියෙනවා නේද 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයෙන් පස්සේ සරුවට වෙනවා වැඩේ. ඒක කවුරුත් දකින්නවනේ. දැන් කී දෙනෙක් දැන් නිදහස් වෙලා ඉවරද?
අවසන් කරන්න.
20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ තුල ඇතිවෙච්ච ප්‍රශ්න තමයි ඕක. එතනින් අපේ රටේ යුක්තිය පසඳිල්ලීමේ ක්‍රියාදාමයට විශාල පහරක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා කියන එක කවුරුත් දකිනවා. ඒ තුලින් අපිට මේ ජනතාව මේ අපේ උසාවි පද්ධතිය පිළිබඳව යුක්තිය පසඳිල්ලීමේ ක්‍රියාදාමයේ පිළිබඳව තියෙන ඒ විශ්වාසනීයත්වය සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම බිඳ වැටලා ඉවරයි. මින් ඉදිරියටත් මේක කරලා තව තවත් ඒක වලපල්ලට දාන්න එපා කියලා ඉල්ලමින් මම සමුගන්නවා. ස්තුතියි.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි. බොහොම ස්තුතියි ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි. ඊළඟට ගරු ගජේන්ද්‍ර කුමාර් පොන්නම්බල මැතිතුමා මිනිත්තු 9ක කාලයක් ඔබතුමාට තියෙනවා.
I thank you, Honourable Presiding Member. I'm particularly glad to speak when you're in the chair, one of the fairest chairs I have come across in this Parliament. I too and my party has been a victim of politically motivated legal action, Honourable Presiding Member. We took the course of fighting the case. We appeared before the courts. We showed court that the steps taken by our opposition in the Northeast, the chief opposition to us in the Northeast, was politically motivated, that the complaints made against us were false. Those were defences we took in the course of the trial. And eventually I personally was acquitted. Another member of our party, a leading member, whose case was filed, subsequently was withdrawn when that member decided to leave our party. So that is the sort of victimization that we have also faced. But what is happening today, Honourable Presiding Member, is something different. The fact that you have a tragic culture in this country of governments taking action against the previous government and vice versa has somersaulted to a point where today you have a situation, if you get to the crux of it, the government of the day, essentially by creating these commissions of inquiries and this special Presidential Commission of Inquiry, has confessed that it doesn't have faith in its own judicial system. That is what it amounts to. When the government of the day chooses not to go before the courts, not to use the numerous legal avenues that they have in order to prove that these are politically victimized, motivated steps that the previous government had taken, which is a good defense. You can take it up in the case itself. You can file fundamental rights cases. You can file prosecutions for malicious prosecution. There are so many avenues that are available. But instead of doing that, for a commission of inquiry to be created and a special presidential commission of inquiry to be created, whilst these processes are going on, some of them before court, some in the course of being investigated, shows that this government has confessed to this country and to the world that it does not have faith in its own judicial system. That is what is important to, that is the important lesson that we need to draw from this. Because, and I say this because, it is this government, as far as the Tamils are concerned, who have been asking for an international criminal investigation with regards to the crimes that took place during the conflict. It is this government that went to Geneva as soon as the president was elected and withdrew from the co-sponsorship of the Geneva resolution, saying that they have a sound system and that they will therefore have an internal inquiry and look at this internally. Today, by this very government, creating these commissions of inquiry and trying to prevent those very same courts from deciding whether in fact these matters were fairly prosecuted or whether they were maliciously prosecuted, has convinced not just members of this country but also the international community that this judicial system is not something that we trusted, that this government system is so perverse that it cannot be trusted. That is what you have done. That is what you have done. And this is what the Honorable C.V. Vigneswaran also, I think, referred to when he said that in a default sort of way, the Tamils will be happy with what is going on here, because we believe that the judicial structure, the structures of governance over the last so many decades have been so perverted in its way, in the way it has handled things, that you can't expect justice, you can't expect truth, and you can't expect proper accountability to come out of it. This government is in fact, and I would say this with responsibility, the strongest case for the Tamil people to show and prove to the international community that it is in fact an international criminal investigation that will be just for the victims of war. It is the Gotabaya Rajapaksa government, unlike any other in the past, that is convincing the international community every step of the way that in fact this country is not able or willing to do justice by the most heinous crimes that are claimed to have been violated in the course of the war. So that is, Honorable Presiding Member, the reality that we face. I just want to say a few things. The consequences of this Commission of Inquiry mandate, the fact that it violates the separation of powers and the rule of law, if the recommendations are implemented, it will be a derogation of due process and fair trial rights, undermines the independence of several institutions, including the judiciary and the AG's department. They are being prosecuted. Members of the department are being called and going to be prosecuted. That is the state in which you are, that you have created. No one will want to, henceforth, want to look into any politically linked cases of fear of the precedent that you are setting today. Witnesses will be frightened to come and appear before future courts or tribunals. So, this sets a dangerous precedent to further entrench impunity in this country, Honorable Presiding Member. So it is on that basis, it is on that, I'm winding up before then, it is on that basis that we say, we as the Tamil National People's Front have been saying for a long time, it is not because we want ill to happen to this country, or that we want this country to be disgraced. That is not the intention, but the reality is that every part of the governance structure of this state is politicized. That is a tragedy. And if we don't wake up and realize it, this country will move towards a failed state. That is what is at stake. That is what is at stake. And it is your own actions, both on that side of the government today and the side of the opposition in the past, that is making sure that your slide towards a failed state is going to become inevitable. Thank you, sir.